Well, I have to tell you that full color flow chart, that modern version of Hillary Care's black and white flow chart, that she called it a scheme. I call this one now, since it's pejorative to call something a scheme, it is a schematic. And the 31 new agencies, and behind them are some others, so it totals up to 53 new government agencies in this flow chart. And Democrats understand that the American people can't read a bill that's more than 1,000 pages long and understand it. Neither can any member of Congress in the period of time that will be allowed. But when you draw a diagram, then you can see what they are doing to grow government, and they can see how many hoops the people are going to have to walk through and jump through and leap through and perform acrobatics through to be able to access the new model of the National Health Care Act that's on that chart. So they decided to censor it, and they censored it through the Franking Commission. It approves mail to go out under the frank mail component that every member of Congress has access to. I don't know of another time there has been a political censorship that a party would declare that you can't call it a Democrat health care plan. They have to say that it's a majority health care plan, or that you can't call it government-run health care. Those two things apparently cause one to put the blame where it belongs. And so if we call it a Democrat plan or a government-run health care plan, that's prohibited, that's verboten, that's censored, and so they told us that we can't mail that out. For me, I put that full-color schematic up on my website for all to see, and I think of it the way the Texans think of that first flag down there in southern Texas, that big white sheet with a picture of the cannon on it. And I just say to them, I put that poster up, it's on my website, you want this, come and take it. Well, I'd be willing to do what we did the last time, and that is just go down and keep giving speeches, although I think we should turn it up more, and we ought to advertise across the nation, and we ought to invite people to come to Washington, D.C., fill the Capitol up, we'll walk you down and sit you on the floor. If they shut off the microphones and the lights like they did last August and want to shut off the debate for the American people, there's a lot of people coming to Washington, D.C. for a vacation in August, and I think we can stay here and escort them down on the floor, and they can sit in Charlie Rangel's seat, or Henry Waxman's seat, or Barney Frank's seat, or Speaker Pelosi's seat, right down on the floor of the House of Representatives in the People's House, real people, real American people, filling it up and listening to a real debate, and by the way, taking that message back to the American people. There's no chance. No, the Republicans believe in open debate, and we have never participated in any kind of censorship through the Franking Commission or in any kind of censorship that took place on the floor of the House of Representatives. If we have a rule that allows for special orders, 1 minute, 5 minutes, all those things that are open dialogue that are picked up by C-SPAN and broadcast all across this country, we always let the Democrats speak to whatever level they wanted to when we were in the majority as Republicans, because ideas are good for us. And our founding fathers imagined that our ideas would come together in this competition of debate on the floor of the House of Representatives and in committee and in subcommittee and in the hallways of Congress. They didn't anticipate the suppression of open dialogue so that one side could impose their will on the American people. And by the way, the job of a chairman, the job of the speaker, is to bring out the will of the group. That is the definition of whoever it is that's leading a subcommittee or a committee, whether it's appropriations or policy, whether it's the Speaker of the House. Somebody has a gavel in this House. Their job is to bring out the will of the group, not to suppress the will of the group. And that means we have to have that contest of ideas. And out of that, our founding fathers imagined, in most of the years in this great republic that we have, the product has been a good product that was brought out by that competition of ideas. Not now. This is under a suppression era that is really shutting down this debate, and I think it's a systematic deconstruction of deliberative democracy in the United States of America. The Franking Commission is set up by Congress, and it's to be bipartisan, and so that's the basis of the Franking Commission. But I'm going to surmise that this time they're ruled by a higher power and have been overruled. Whether that comes from Speaker Pelosi's office or whether that comes from the White House, I don't know that. But I know that this is unprecedented, and sooner or later I'm going to find out, and sooner or later the American people will know as well. The American people need to cry out for their freedom. They need to say, give me back my freedom. I want free markets. They don't want to have a national energy plan that is cap and tax rather than cap and trade. They don't want to have a national health care act, and it works this way. If they can ram this through and put it on the backs of the American people, there is no repeal for cap and trade. If it goes to President Obama's desk, he will sign it, and we are stuck with it. And we're stuck with it, I believe, forever. I think it's a piece of policy that taxes all energy in America, and it's irrevocable because it will create such a web of favoritisms, political favoritism, economic favoritism, that the people that are profiting from it will be able to hang on to it and fund their grip that they have on Congress. That's cap and trade, or cap and tax is more accurate. Socialized medicine, same thing. Once you create this dependency, and the people in America would eventually wipe out every health insurance company in America. Over 1,300 private health insurance companies in America, perhaps 100,000 policies, all of that choice out there. The government plan would strangle the private sector plan. And by the way, when the President of the United States tells the American people, if you like your health insurance plan, don't worry, if you like it, you get to keep it, it's simply not true. And he's too smart a man not to know that what he's saying is not true. And in the section of the bill, 102 of the bill, it says in there that all health insurance policies, the private health insurance policies, will have to meet a qualifier, set up and become a qualified plan, which would be established by the new health insurance czar, which they call a commissioner, yet to be named by the president. And if they don't meet those standards, they won't be in business. And so nobody gets to keep their policy. It says so in Section 102. The people are not being told the truth by the President of the United States if he tells you you get to keep your policy. So the American people need to give their members of Congress a personal experience. It's not enough to just send an email and have that counted in a box somewhere. You need to send the email, yes. Write the snail mail letter, yes. Sit down and write it by hand. Maybe somebody will pay a little more attention. Pick up the phone and call the office. Call the offices. Do your level best to get through to the member of Congress or to the United States Senator. And go to their offices in their districts. Go fill up their offices. Fill up their couches and their chairs. And demand that your voice be heard by your elected representative. Do so respectfully. Do not intimidate anyone, and don't bring about any violence. Respectfully go and make your case in person if you can. And if it gets bad here and they're determined to shut down this process completely and stifle the voice of your elected representative, the American people are going to have to come to Washington, D.C. if they want to save their freedom from the people that are in power today. Well, 32 czars altogether so far added up, and of those 32, some of them concern me a great deal. Let's see. There's the czar, the executive compensation czar, who will be making decisions on executive salary and executive pay. Now, when is the federal government, where do they declare they have any business sticking their nose in what a board of directors determines they want to pay their executives? I mean, that is a free market decision. If the companies pay their executives too much money and drain the profit out, the company goes broke and some other company comes in and competes against it. That's one example of one of the 32 czars. The car czar, who was involved in daily management of General Motors, and the president telling General Motors what model car they have to build in order to compete with the foreign imports. Those are the kind of things that happen. We have government making those decisions for the private sector, and the free markets no longer apply when you have those kind of decisions. And this healthcare czar, which is it becomes let's see, underneath the box called the Health Insurance Administration, or excuse me, the Public Plan Administration Commissioner. They call him a commissioner rather than a czar, because the American people have reached their threshold on how many czars they will tolerate. I think 32 was way too many, but they understand that 33 would be too many, so now we'll have a commissioner of health insurance if they pass this bill. Commissioner, not a commissar. Maybe a commissaritioner is what we're going to end up with under Obama. Well, John Conyers might arguably be the number one lawyer in Congress since he's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And if he would make the argument that a member of Congress can't read the bill and understand it, then it doesn't pay to try. That's true for some, and it may well be true in the window of time we'll have to read it. But we need to have time to evaluate the bill. And I will read those components of the bill that are the most relevant, and there'll be other pieces of that I'll want to hand out to our staff and to the committee staff and have them analyze the components and bring me back a report so I can understand a bill in its entirety in its composite form. They don't want to let that happen. The people on Chairman Conyers' side of the aisle do not want to let the members of Congress read this bill, and they clearly don't want to let the American people understand what's in the bill. That's why there's this rush to passage. That's why President Obama said he wanted a bill on his desk by August 1st. And by the way, President Obama, as a state senator, or as a U.S. senator in 2004, made the argument that the Republicans were rushing legislation through and there wasn't a time to read it, and it brought about bad legislation.